atmosphere. So our topic today is atmosphere. These are the things that create atmosphere within your films, and what are those tags? And what I'm talking to basically here are cut tos, fade tos, transitions, and filters. Now, in modular method, every shot is assumed to be a cut to, meaning it's a shot, and then it's another shot, and then it's another shot. There's no transition between it. So in modular method, you will rarely, if ever, write the tag cut to. You just tend not to use it. The only thing is sometimes...
At the end, you go to a title.
Right. The only time that I tend to personally use it is if I have a very shocking end to something, like the music rises, cut to credits, as opposed to gentle fade to credits, rolling. So that I will tend to do. Or if I have, no, actually that's it. That's the only time I do it. Is if I want to quickly and sharply leave my fiction and go to something like a title sequence or my credits.
You're never going to write it in blackout.
Do you have to write in the score? So like
No,
okay,
no, you don't.
Thank you.
You don't.
You're never going to write it, but you're never going to write it in blackout.
No, you're never going to write it.
Okay.
Well, okay. I have some of our filmmakers that are certified
Yeah.
will sometimes say cut to black,
Okay.
and then they'll say we have blackness
Yeah.
for 2 seconds. There is utter silence. Or they'll say, perhaps music rises here. If you know you're going to be composing music for your own script, I will say, because Maxwell does this, because he does, he will put music cues to himself. But, why not? And then what you do is, and actually I think we get to this,
Okay.
but it's in the narrative, and he says, and actually we do get to it, so I won't touch on it now. All right, so you rarely use that cut to. We just assume everything is a cut to. Fade to, or fade out. The reason that we use those is I tend to use fades at the end of scenes where we are going to a new scene and time has passed, or we are dramatically changing location. However, it is completely stylistic. You choose when you want to fade. If you think it's a dramatic moment that, Faith leaves the front door of her house, then we fade to and we pick up with her 5 minutes later as she's walking down the street to school, do it. Maybe you just want that little extra moment, because she was fighting with her mom before she left. So we want that little extra moment for people to just go, whoa, okay, that was an intense scene, and now we leave. So we use fade tos stylistically with modular method. So it's completely up to you.
Where are all these written? Would it be in the narrative or?
That's a very good question. And I think I might have some in the sample scripts, but fade tos, cut tos, they're flushed this way, like this.
To the far right? Mark?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
That's not pretty useful.
Okay. All right. Transitions and filters. Transitions and filters, I think we'll be able to cover quickly before this file is up. Transitions and filters are, you have to know what program your editor is going to be editing in. So for instance, if you're doing something a little bit more artsy, a little bit more surreal, you might say transition flare to the next scene. And what that means is that instead of just fading from one scene to another, there's like a flare effect, whoosh, light, like light is swallowing the scene and coming back in. You have to know what is available in the program that your piece is going to be edited in. Or let's say you're doing a comedy and you go, silly heart transition. So it goes little hearts and the next scene comes in. So those kind of transitions you do want to write into the script if you're wedded to them. Because in modular method, we tell our editors, don't just put those in, because you could completely change the look and feel of someone's project. So only if the writer puts it in, should it be there.
I don't know what it's going to be. Would you put like transition ? But just that there is a transition?
Maybe you could say, well, first of all, what I would do is before I even sit down to write a script, I actually will talk to the three DeMarcos, and I'll actually say, this is the script that I'm thinking of, this is the basic story. Does anybody feel a passionate connection to that idea in terms of wanting to edit and in terms of wanting to score? Because I have 2 composers in the house. well, 3 if I count myself, but I often don't compose for my own stuff. And then I have 4 of us edit. So I will literally go, who feels most passionately about the story? Then I will sit down and look at their program, because I'm very particular. And I mean, I'm even particular about like how long my fades are. You know, so it's like, I want to write it in, and yes, any transitions would go here, like, if you're fading between scenes. However, let's say you have a shot where halfway through the shot, suddenly everything goes blue hue because the demon has entered the room, or everything is hued red. Then you would put that, you would say, filter, everything, it has suddenly has a red hue or fades into a red hue. You put that in your narrative. This, where you flush something to the right, in all in caps, that's when you're moving between scenes. So your fade twos or your funny transitions. I mean, you guys, I only bring up transitions because it was asked by one of our existing partners. Because to me, I'm like, why would I use anything other than a fade two? Everything else looks hokey. But the truth of the matter is, there's a time and a place, especially if you're doing comedy or you're doing something campy. You know, like there's those little transitions, like it looks like a page is turning.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so
Blood
like,
dripping.
right, or like blood dripping. But the truth of the matter is, if you're writing camp or you're purposely trying to do something, like the film Best in Show, which was like a parody of dog shows and such.
Yeah.
Can't you see them using like a transition of like little dog prints? You know, that kind of tongue-in-cheek. That's where you would want transitions. If you're doing a serious dramatic project, don't use cutesy transitions. Be careful with your transitions, because they're going to take your viewer out of the fiction for a moment.
Like the old-fashioned Batman, when they do the Batman symbol.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, right. See,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It's like so stylistic.
Yeah.
It's so stylistic.
Now, on Schindler's List, the scene where the chroma's turned down except on the little girl's red
Right.
dress.
Yes.
Right.
Would you use the word, that you're, that you turn down the chroma? I mean, because
I would say
there's different ways of.
because nowadays when folks talk about chroma in a indie film project,
Right.
they're going to think of green screen.
Oh, okay.
So what I would say is image is filter desaturated,
Okay.
or image is desaturated. And I'd put desaturated in all caps, except for Felicia's red dress.
Okay, all right,
That's how I would do that.
okay.
And that would be a narrative.
So desaturated basically means you're taking the color out.
Yeah, you're
You're
leaching
going
some
black
of the
and white,
color.
you're going black.
Yes, or you could just say this is in black and white, but desaturated, when you desaturate, there's like levels. And you can like,
Sepia tone.
yes, exactly. You can even hedge it so that you can still pretty much see color,
Right.
but it's almost as if someone's taken a black and white photo and done that thing where they
Okay.
watercolor over it, you
Right.
know? And it's just really faint, but it can just be so beautiful and very powerful. Okay, so those are my notes on atmosphere. And again, if you're doing a comedy or something campy, go wild with the filters and the transitions. That's totally fine.